Welcome to Sports Betting Preview from pregame.com for October 29th, 2009. I'm your host, RJ Bell, and I'm joined by Marco D'Angelo, 30 years in the business, Vegas runner, genuine professional bettor here in Vegas. This is segment 4 of 6. This is a big game preview, NFL, Baltimore and Denver. As usual, let's go straight to the line report from our resident line guru, Vegas runner.
Great game. Baltimore opened up as a 3.5-point home favorite with a total of 39. As of this morning, we're looking at 3 minus $1.25. So if you're taking the +3, you're getting plus 105. If you want to take Baltimore now, you got to lay 125 to lay 3. And the total's up to 42. So a 2.5-point movement to the over.
All right, so and I think that goes with a general trend we've been talking about. This Baltimore D isn't as good as we've seen. Now, so let's talk abstractly just for a minute. Is home field in the NFL typically is 3. So to say a line 3 with a juice edge to Baltimore means they're saying Baltimore is slightly better right now. All right, but I would say this. Clearly, we agree with that, right? So Baltimore's slightly better is what they're saying because you have to lay the 125 to lay the 3.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. You gave me a look like, I don't want to contradict Vegas runner. All right. No way. Now, here's my question. This Denver team all of a sudden has got, we just before the bye, they were getting 4.5 against San Diego. So using that same home field, they were saying that Denver was 1.5 points worse than San Diego. Now they're saying they're about exactly the same as Baltimore.
2.5 point.
Now this is a Baltimore team which went to Minnesota a couple weeks ago and was less than 3. So really what you're saying here is they're now saying they think Denver is better than Minnesota, who was just undefeated. I mean, this Denver team, the idea of them now being underrated is out the window. They've made believers of the lines make.
I agree.
Another thing in there is that you referred to the San Diego game. Baltimore earlier in the year went to San Diego and beat San Diego. So if you're doing a line comparison,
clearly, what I tend to do is look at a matchup, make my own line off my gut, and see what the line was. I was thinking this is going to be 4.5. So right now I'm shocked, and remember the key number of 3. All right, so Marco, as a handicapper looking at this game, what's the one factor and what's the answer to that factor which is going to help our audience pick winners?
Well, I'm not sure if it's going to help the audience because I've been handicapping Denver all year, old school, and minus my games involving Denver, I've got a hell of a year going. I've still got a good year going, but it would be phenomenal if I could take the couple losses away.
Now, you're 7-2 on your free picks here the last 9 weeks.
Yes.
So you're doing well.
We're doing well, but Denver, I've lost a few games with them.
And like a dime to us, right?
Yeah. Okay. And
a lot of Wise's Dally on Mark.
The one thing here, and again, old school handicapping. This is a traditional bye week handicap. The general thinking is teams that go into a bye week with momentum, that's bad. You don't want to stop momentum whenever everything's rolling right. And a team that goes into a bye week in disarray, like the Baltimore Ravens, they lost 3 in a row. The bye week is the best thing that can happen. Old school handicapping, this is a no-brainer.
So this is a rare situation where both teams had a bye coming in, correct?
In opposite ends of the spectrum.
So that is good stuff, and it's hard. It's hard to find unique stuff on each game, but that's a real takeaway. So let's think for a minute. A rare situation where we have 2 teams coming off a bye, one team in a classically good spot to come off a bye, Baltimore, because they were in disarray, or are in disarray, I guess that's the question. Denver was super hot, which is a negative to come off a bye. So all that equal, you got to like Baltimore there.
Old school handicapping, it's Baltimore.
Well, that's the only handicapping you can do. All right, now, what's the one factor in your handicap?
I don't want to talk about the same thing, but that's exactly what I had written here.
All right, so
and bottom line is they had beaten Dallas, New England, San Diego, had all that momentum, everyone talking about you. Now you got to break. How do you bounce back? And you got to remember, they're not just 6-0. They're 6-0 ATS as well.
Which is why we're getting, one of the reasons we're getting the shift in respect is when a team keeps cash and the people keep back.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to make a case here that I'm not. You just rattled off some teams that Denver beat. I'm not so sure that every one of those teams isn't overrated.
Right.
All right. I mean, because to me, New England is going to be the question mark. But to me, Dallas is overrated just perpetually.
Absolutely.
I think we can agree to that. They're a premium. They're a team there's a premium on, like Notre Dame, like North Carolina, in basketball, etc. Okay. Lakers. Now, number 2 then is we've got, I'm sorry, give me one more time. Oh, San Diego.
San Diego.
So we know the San Diego is perpetually overrated. All right. And again, I'm talking a point and a half. Now, this New England team, I haven't seen them. I've seen them blow out bad teams, and I haven't seen them yet win a really, and I look at this Atlanta team where you would say that was the defining win for New England. I'm not so sure now that you look at, the way they played against the Cowboys. Then you look at this Jets team and wonder how good they are. I'm not sure how good this New England team is. I mean, they might be, I'm not saying they're not one of the top 10 teams.
Right.
But I don't think they're, who are you? I mean, here's a question mark. Who are you playing Pittsburgh, New England, neutral field with a pick'em game?
Right now, I'm playing Pittsburgh the way the teams are playing.
All right, so I mean, what I'm saying is this New England is probably not. Indy is going to be a favorite against New England on a neutral, right?
Absolutely.
So, and right now you'd have to say Denver. I just don't know that I think this Denver team's good, but this Baltimore team, you have to wonder, was a couple weeks ago was the best team in football. Now let's think about it a second. The Cincinnati game is the big question mark, but they could have beat New England clearly, and there was that drop late, in the game.
Right.
And clearly they could have beat Minnesota, and winning in Minnesota is a challenge. I just wonder right now if the value isn't on Baltimore.
I think the value probably is on Baltimore, and I'm just skeptical because I've got burnt with it going against Denver. But they've lost 3 in a row. The 3 games they lost was to New England, Cincy, and Minnesota, who all are winning teams right now. And Cincinnati's playing a lot better than anybody thought.
That's the game of question, because to me they could have won.
Yeah.
They could have been undefeated going in that Cincy game, and Cincy outplayed them. And watching Cincy against the Steelers, that Steelers dominated them. So Cincy dominating you really makes me question how good you are.
I don't know that Cincy dominated Baltimore. Cincy scored on the last drive of the game to win the game.
All right, and that's a good point. But going into Baltimore and winning, I guess you're right. The word isn't dominating, but wow, if you're losing at home.
I mean, they lost those 3 games by a grand total of 11 points.
Did we dig into that box score? Anyone get any thoughts on the Cincy-Baltimore box score or the yards and all that?
I didn't at the time, but I do know that in that game, that last drive was saved by a very questionable interference call on 3rd and forever.
Well, this would be a good example. What we do is we post each of these podcasts in the forums. So you just go to pregame.com and click forums, and we'll continue this conversation, dig in a little bit into the box score on this Baltimore game and get a feel of, because that's the question mark to me, is how they lost that Cincy game at home.
And I got one thing that's a benefit for Baltimore in this game. The fact that Baltimore already played New England this year and they're playing Denver this week. Denver being the coach, McDaniels being a disciple of Belichick. They're going to have a little bit of stuff.
Look, there's 2 gold nuggets
pulling them out of everywhere.
That's for the old school guys,
All right, so no official pick
Not
on
this one.
20 seconds, any last thoughts?
Just the Baltimore defense. Are they that bad? Is the secondary as weak as we've seen, letting up almost 300 yards a game? I don't think they're that as bad as
I'm not
they're shown. I'm not either, but I don't think they're
not as bad as they've looked.
Yeah.
Last nugget, West Coast team playing a 1 o'clock game too for Denver.
That's another one.
Denver's not West Coast though. They're mountain.
They're close. All
right, but it's a move. It's a move to the east. All right, good stuff. Okay, next up, segment 5 of 6, the biggest game of the week, a guy named Brett Favre against the Green Bay Packers. And remember, you can get all of our videos at pregame.tv, or if you want to download and listen, just go to iTunes and search for pregame.com.